Today, I'm so delighted to bring you somebody whom I have known for the last 9 years almost. It's been that long. He's got his debut book out, and that's what we will be talking about today. He's somebody who I have admired for his success, and he has also helped me a lot in my own coaching and entrepreneurial journey. He's a good friend, and he's known by the name of Doug Dane. Doug, welcome.
Hi, Alpa. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. It's really good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. So, first of congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the release of your book, Mistaken Identity. It's just been published and it's available in all good bookstores as we speak. I love the title. I love the title of this book. So let's just start there.
Okay.
How did that title come about?
You know, um, I mean, for me personally, I of course, just because of my childhood and my upbringing and my early life, I struggled for most of my life. As a young person that struggled because of the story I went through. Then I became an adult that struggled. I did figure out, success. Like I was able to succeed in business and financially. And I became a really good actor. I looked like I had it all together, certainly on the outside. But on the inside, I didn't feel that way. And I just had this overwhelming sometimes and looming feeling like, what the hell's wrong with me? And I was struggling with anxiety and depression and, in some cases, low self-esteem, really worried at what people were thinking about me. So very, very, very self-conscious. And of course that played out into my health as well and stuff. And anyway, I got into when you and I met, I got into this business of mentoring and coaching people more on their own personal life. And I continue to coach people for business too. But as I was working with all these business owners and consultants and entrepreneurs and salespeople and the like, there was an underlying theme that I noticed I had the same thing. And everybody has a story. Very few people really actually honest about what's really going on. They were kind of keeping it quiet because embarrassed or whatever, and it was hindering their success. And of all the people that I've helped that have really exploded in their own results or their life has changed, is because we got to the truth of what was really going on for them. And if I can get to the truth with you, then I can set you free or help you set yourself free. Anyway, so I'm working with all these people, and I started to realize that I had this mistaken view of myself. All these people were seeing me a certain way, and I liked the idea of it. It felt kind of true, but it was very uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And of course, the biggest one for me was Bob Proctor. I mean, he's known all the world. I'm working with him. We become friends, and he starts seeing things in me, and I'm going, really, like, really, Bob. I remember one time I called him up. I go, Bob, everybody's telling me that I have a gift. I have a gift to this, a gift to that. He goes, Doug, you do have gifts. I go, I do. He goes, yeah, you're very gifted. He said, everybody's gifted, Doug. The difference is you're using yours.
Yeah.
And so these moments. Anyway, um, I just working with all these people, realizing they were just mistaken about how they see themselves. They're mistaken about beliefs that they hold. They're mistaken about rules and standards that they've been following that were drilled into them as a kid. And as I'm working with people, it was 8 years ago, I wrote these words down on the cover. I wrote down, I think everybody has this mistaken identity. I think they're mistaken because of their upbringing. If they went through severe traumatic experience like I did, 60% of people went through what I've gone through. That's a big number.
Mhm.
Um, and then other people just, being brought up in what we termed kind of a regular family with nice parents, and they stayed married and all that stuff, but they still weren't certain about themselves. And that's kind of where it came from. And so I was then on a pursuit to free myself from the second guessing and the doubt and the anxiety, that just the different emotional stuff. I got sick of feeling the way I was feeling.
Yeah.
Now, when I figured it out, and it took me way too long, by the way, it could have happened way faster. When I did figure it out, then I just wanted everybody to be able to do it quickly, because I figured out how to do it in a very short period of time. And it was really Bob that there's a couple things that he talked about. It's in the book that just, it was a pivotal point where just go, oh, this is easy. I'm
Yeah.
dragging this out. So that's where it came from.
So you're obviously inspired to write this book because of your own situation, your own circumstances, your own background, and of course, consultants that you're working with, clients that you're working with, and you found that there's something here definitely that needs to be spoken about. So tell us more about this book.
Well, I wrote it more as, it's a guide, it says. So it says, stop hiding and start living. I think a lot of us are doing that. And it's a guide to letting go of a past that's holding you back. Now, you might not have a traumatic past like mine, but there is things in your past that have you mistaken about who you are and what you're capable of. So I wrote the book, I designed it so it's partially my story. So there's 30 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it in a way, I want this to happen fast, and it can. And so I wanted to make it very instructional. So it's very directive, it's instructive, it's prescriptive. Each chapter is only like 3 or 4 pages long. It's like a 5-minute read. In each chapter, then what I do is I get you to jot down what you learn from the chapter. So I use my story. I do 3 things. I get you to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I use my story to get your attention because it's a really good story. And then I make a key point from my story, my experience, to get you to change your mind. So if you're not enjoying your life or you're not successful as you want to, you need to change your mind. There's something in your mind you need to change. And so then I ask you some questions, and I have this little simple action step, and that takes about 5 minutes. And the idea is just to get you. So what I do is I hook your attention with the story. I attempt to change your mind in the chapter. And then while I have your mind changed, right away I say, get your pen out and answer these questions. And I ask you very direct questions because I don't want you screwing around. But the book's very direct as well. It's very hard hitting because life is short. And I dragged my victim mentality around for way too long. I took too long to figure this out. And so it's really designed as a workbook or a handbook. And it takes you along this process. And there's 3 phases: learn, unlearn, and relearn. It takes you along these phases. And it basically gets you to understand what is a mistaken identity, what is yours, and then how do you get rid of it? And then what happens through that process. And I say, don't try to fix yourself with this book.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you shouldn't be trying to fix yourself at all. You should be trying to be yourself is what you should do. Right? And I say, don't work on you. Let the book work on you. So just do exactly what I tell you to do in the book and let the book work on you. And by the end of the book, somewhere in the book or by the end, you're going to meet your real self. And then you're going to go, and then you're going to see the world differently. You're going to, because you see yourself differently. You're not laden with all this crap and this junk, or worse, if you've been through what I've been through, you don't have this, you can get rid of this low self-esteem or this inferiority complex or not feeling good enough or loved or worthy, because it's all stuff you just gathered along your way that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. What did you learn though? What did you learn when you were writing this book yourself? Was there anything that you learned?
A couple things. Kind of what I said earlier. When I sat down to write the book, I got a bug on my desk here. When I sat down to write the book, I had to assemble it in order, right? It had to be in an orderly way that a person could follow. And so I'm going to give you directions. I have to give you really, if you're lost and you're trying to find your way, I go this way, turn left. So I had to be really directive about it. And so it was interesting because when I wrote it, it was really simple to write it. Like the organization of it, the structure of it, I pretty much had it on the first pass. Like the structural editor said, "Did you write this?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "Wow, like it's really well organized and structured." Because I had been structuring in my mind over 8 years working on me, and also as I was learning and growing I was guiding others. So what that did is I realized how simple this is. I believed it was simple. I thought this can, because Bob Proctor kept saying, Doug, this is so simple, you're making it complicated. Just let it go. It's so easy. You're making it hard. Bob, you don't understand. Okay, Doug, whatever you say. And so that's the biggest thing. So when I accepted the idea from Bob that it was simple and it could be fast, then it happened really simply and fast. It was quick, enough that I would write the book. Because for 8 years, I was afraid to say what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So my own mistaken identity got in the way of putting the book out. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that I just learned it was really, really simple. There is an orderly process to it, and it's very, very simple steps. And then I think not so much what I learned, but what it did to me is, because the book is very wide open. Like I've always been very open about my story. I've been on television and newspapers. I speak very openly about it because the story is good leverage to show other people, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. And so I, in fact, there's a part in the book where I'm talking to a friend of mine, Pete. We're having dinner. The manuscript's already been handed in, and I edited it after this dinner I had with him. I said, Pete, I'm afraid to go out with this in some respects. He goes, why? I said, well, because it's really wide open, and I'm very direct. And like, I know what I know, but people are gonna, probably come after me for this. And there was resistance in me, and so by putting it out there, like, I was committed to putting it out. I mean, I was on the hook with the publisher. I had to write the book. I guess I could have not, but by doing it and following through, it released a bunch of my own fears, and it really minimized the big piece I talk about in the book, which is chapter 1, stop judging. So I was still judging myself, worried about what people were going to think. So I think those are the two big things. It is simple, it is easy, it's not a real complicated path. And secondly, by doing it, it freed me of my mistaken identity.
I was just going to say, even after writing the book, you were thinking those thoughts, that what are people going to say, or how they're going to take it, or
Yeah,
all
of course.
that stuff. What surprised you the most, if anything, about this book?
You mean like what's in it, or in writing it, or what?
In terms of like, if we look at the feedback, what sort of response have you had so far from it, and is there any kind of surprises that you've had?
It's interesting. They haven't been surprises, but in some respects, because of my own mistaken identity, there's still, I get this feedback. I go, really? Like, really? But then, in my heart, I know how good the book is. So real quick, we did I ran an observational trial.
Yeah.
I gave 140 people the book, and we asked them to read the book, and then after that, go back through the book over 30 days, read the chapter, and take the action step, and then report. And I was doing live calls. In fact, I have a live call at 11 with them to wrap that up. And the feedback, Alpa, that came back from people, like the transformation and the letting go of stuff, like the freedom. I got a message last night before I was out for dinner, and I got this voice message through the WhatsApp group, and I just was weeping because it was just so beautiful what was happening.
Yeah.
This person had really struggled with real health issues, family, like a lot of issues. And she just left this long voice message of how, and you can hear it in her voice, just the freedom of letting go of all this mistaken stuff. And then another lady early in the trial, she's 37, and she wrote me a message. She said, Doug, I've been going through the book in February every day for a month. I'm 37, and I'm quoting her, without exaggeration, February 2023 has been the best month of my entire life. And then she listed all the things that she let go of. And one of them was just self-confidence and self-esteem, and worrying what people were thinking, and hiding her skin, because she used to have skin problems. If you looked at this lady, you'd think she has no problems. But one was relationships. And a week later, she goes, guess what? I go, what? She goes, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? And she goes, literally, I just met the love of my life.
Oh, wow.
And she was struggling in relationships. She was having them and dating and a few long-term ones, but just anyway. So I'm not surprised by it, but it's definitely gratifying and offers me a lot of humility. And I didn't write a book. I didn't want to write a book. I
No.
wanted to explain to people how to do this in a fast way. And I can't get in front of, like, I can get more people faster with this book than I can being on a Zoom or whatever. So I
Yeah.
did this so it's not about the book, it's the message in the book. The book's the messenger. Or I always say, um, I think everybody is stuck in a prison of their own making. I think it's a case of mistaken identity. That's what got them arrested. The real villain is their upbringing and their conditioning, and the key to their freedom lies inside. And this is the key to open up the cell. And so I just want to open up the cell, help you break free, and then I want you to run down the hall, take the book, and open up the cell for everybody else. I want to create this massive jailbreak. Man, that's the
Love
mission
it.
I'm on.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Now that you've written this book, it is your first book.
Hmm.
Would you write another book? Is there something
Oh
brewing
yeah,
up?
yeah,
Is there something
yeah.
that
Somebody,
is
I'm getting all
pending?
these suggestions, of course. Um, a number of mistaken identity for young people, because young people have been raised by adults.
Yeah.
Well, people in adult bodies are still childish, raising children, and those kids are struggling. And that's our problem. We are in this perpetual generational cycle of struggle, and it's getting worse. Somebody said mistaken identity for entrepreneurs, because of course, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they could be doing way better. They know they could be doing better. And the main reason is their mistaken identity, the image they hold of themselves, is what's really holding back their creativity, getting the answers to get to the level they want to get to. It's not about strategy and tactics. That's part of it. But if you
Yeah.
don't believe in yourself, you can't believe in what you're doing unless you believe in yourself. And that's why you never get where you want to go. So somebody said mistaken identity for entrepreneurs. There was an original book. It was the first book before this came up was letters to my daughter. And so I started to write that. Anyway, I'm not going to stop speaking or writing. I got a lot to say. I've been holding it back for 59. I've been holding it back for way too long.
Well, you're looking good for 59, and I've got to say that what you've just mentioned right now, I think is going to help a lot of people anyway, especially with this book. I mean, there's nobody specific that this book has been written for. I think it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, you can get very specific in the other books that you've just mentioned. I've
Yeah.
ordered a copy. I'm just waiting for its delivery. But I've noticed that I got the workbook though. I don't know how I managed to get that, but I've got the workbook. But the difference with this book and a lot of other personal growth books, like you've just said, is that yours actually has questions and it's workbook. So you're working through it whilst you're reading it. And I
Yeah.
think that's just so cool because there's so many personal growth books that you can read, but not all of them have instructions. We know Think and Grow Rich is a direct instruction. It tells you what to do.
Yeah.
But there's certain books that doesn't really tell you what to do. Psycho-cybernetics does. There's
Yeah.
things in there that you can fill out questions and things. But I like the way that you've done this and the workbook. But the other thing that I've noticed is, and again, was this intentional? Or was it an afterthought after writing the book? In the workbook, you've quoted a lot from the Bible.
Mhm.
Is that because your relationship with God, spirit, universe, call it what you want, has grown? Did you have a relationship with God before, or
No. Yeah. No. You're right on track. There's several chapters, and one chapter is called Meeting God. There's another experience when I found out I was going to be a father. There's pepper throughout the book. There's another book called The Note, where I got a note from God. I was at a coffee shop, and some woman comes up, a stranger, goes, "Sorry, I saw you over there getting my coffee, and God told me to write this note to you." And I'm going, "Who the hell is this?" Right? Is this lady whack? What the hell's going on? And I read the note, and I was with a friend of mine. I just started weeping because what was in the note basically was the dialogue I was having in my prayers with God. Now, I had no religion, no experience growing up as a young person, but somebody introduced me, say, you should meet this God guy and start having a conversation. And he said, you're so successful and so good on mindset, on the science of mind, but you don't really know this other side. You should, I think if you knew this side, you put the two together, you'd be really effective. So I
Yeah.
like that. That's what motivated. I was not interested in meeting God. Okay. I was not, but I was motivated by the idea that if maybe God could teach me something or theology or something in the Bible, whatever, I didn't know what where I was going to go, but maybe there was something there that could help me help more people. That's was the motive. But anyway, so there's been many experiences that are in the book where, I have these experiences or conversations or, meeting God. And so when I was putting the book together, and I say it in the book, and some people don't like what I say, but I really believe it. And I said to my friend Jay, who introduced me to God, I said, Jay, I said, if people don't believe in God, I really truly believe they don't believe in God. They're either ignorant, like I was, unaware, they're angry, hurt, or they're lost. And call God whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. But I just wanted people to at least consider a piece of scripture and just ask yourself, what is God saying to you or about you? Because I want you to take a godlike or a spirit-like view on yourself. Okay, so your problem is you're locked into a mistaken identity, and that's your ego, and that's your psyche, that's your false self that's running your life. And so, what you got to do is we have to take an objective point of view
Hmm.
on you, because you can't really see your true self. You can feel it once in a while. It pulls you to do things, and things in your life happen. You go, yeah, but you need somebody, an outsider, to go, Alpa, let me tell you what I see about you. And I
Hmm.
thought God's probably a good source to go to for that opinion.
Yeah.
So it's not a book based. It's not religion. It's your religion, but there is piece of scripture that go with each chapter. I'll give you an example. Let me just flip through the chapter here.
I was just going to say,
Chapter,
why don't you read something from the book or your favorite part of a little snippet of the book?
all right, sure. Um, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will rifle off chapter titles. You tell me to stop, and I'll read whatever one you pick. Okay?
Okay.
I'll just rifle off you. Stop judging. Poison. The big con. Stop shitting on yourself. Um, why don't you love me? The elephant in the room. Grow up. Guilty verdict. Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Well, that's Bob's chapter, actually.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's about the dialogue with Bob, definitely. And so this is chapter 27. So I mentioned the book's in three parts: learn, unlearn, and then relearn. So the last half of the book, I started changing your mind dramatically. All right,
Okay.
here we go. They're not long. Chapter 27. Let it go. And it opens with a quote. Sometimes letting things go is an act of greater power than defending or hanging on. And that's Eckhart Tolle. Focusing on the past is a waste of energy. Life can feel hard, but too often we make it harder for ourselves. It doesn't mean that life won't put roadblocks and challenges in our way, but it does mean we can look at those any way that we want. Any energy you put towards negative things is a waste of your time. Put your valuable energy toward good. Imagine each day you're given credits to use. When the credits run out, you don't get any more for the day. If you were given credits every day and each thought, word, feeling, or action was a credit, you wouldn't waste them. I wasted too much of my life in worry, doubt, and fear. I had no idea I was causing my own anxiety, depression, and disease by holding on to and reliving the past. It was a wake-up call when I realized it was me causing my pain. Recently, my mentor, Bob Proctor, passed, and I was asked to share how he had changed my life or what he had taught me. The greatest gift Bob gave me was the lesson of letting go. He left me in a good place, armed with the awareness that I could let go. I struggled for a long time as a victim of my past, and I kept trying to figure out what was wrong with me and why I felt so lousy most of the time. I spent years thinking my healing was difficult and complicated and would take a long time. It was because that's what I believed. When I met Bob, he suggested something to me that I wasn't really willing or ready to accept. He asked, "What if it was easy, Doug? What if you could just let it go?" There's no way something so difficult and so painful could be simple and easy to let go of. How could it be? I didn't believe anybody could understand what I'd been through. Therefore, they wouldn't understand how to let it go. Not even Bob. Bob would say, "Let it go, Doug." remember telling him that things were different for me, or so I thought. And he didn't really understand me. I said, you didn't come from where I came from, Bob, and you didn't suffer the effects of trauma and abuse like I did. He looked at me with his wise smile and simply responded, I was going to prove to him he was wrong, that it isn't simple and that there isn't a universal answer for everyone, no matter what their past circumstances were. Well, I was wrong. Each time I was feeling like I was stuck in the same place, his answer was the same. Let it go, Doug. I wasn't in the same place, but I felt that way. I was making progress, but I didn't feel like I was. If you looked at my life, it looked like it was getting better, and it was, but it didn't feel like it was. Finally, he said, I can only help you if and when you can accept the idea that letting go is easy. When I was attempting to let go, it wasn't easy because I was convinced it must be hard. Finally, I accepted that it was simple, and it was. The answer quite simply was letting go. Nature, us included, operates by nature's laws. There are rules on how our minds work, which drive our brains and nervous systems. But I wasn't following the rules. And through learning some simple rules, I was able to apply them, and quickly things started to change. I now know anyone can let go of their past and stop feeling like a victim. It's not hard, it's not difficult, and it doesn't take very long. Now I understand what Bob meant when he said, Doug, it's so simple, yet it's so misunderstood. If you follow these rules each day, you can live a beautiful, joy-filled life. Think of your life as a scale with two dishes. Imagine one side of the scale has a pile of little pebbles, which represents all your struggles and negative thoughts and feelings. Imagine you follow the rules, and each day you move one of the tiny stones to the other side of the scale. Soon the scale starts to tip in your favor, and soon the scale on the positive side weighs more. That would be a weight off your shoulders. And then I go through the rules quickly. And then there's an action step at the back and a meditation. And so the meditation here, the scripture was, this is Matthew chapter 6, verse 27. Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?
Wow.
So I want you to just think about that relative to the chapter.
Yeah.
Can you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? No. So by asking these questions, I change your mind. You go, why the hell would I be worrying? This is silly. Right? And that's what started to happen to me. I just go, I'm living by these rules that don't make any friggin' sense. No wonder I'm struggling. So.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm just waiting for the delivery on it. And thank you so much for reading that chapter. I think there's some things in there that I needed to hear. So hence I've said, let it go. Your final words of wisdom to everybody.
Final words of wisdom. Buy the book. I think the key things I want to say to people is, I said earlier, stop trying to fix yourself. Okay. Through social media and the internet and anybody that's into personal development and growth, we're approaching, and I did the same thing. The mistake I made because of my mistaken identity was I thought there's something wrong with me. That's one of the chapters. What's wrong with me? Your parents said that. Alpha, what's wrong with you? You know, your friends, what the hell's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. The idea, what's wrong is what you believe. Mm-hmm. What's wrong is the rules and standards or people you're following. That's what's wrong. It's not you. So stop trying to fix yourself. Just be yourself. And that's what this book does. It uncovers this mistaken identity so you can meet your true self. And then you can be yourself. Mm-hmm. And then life just gets easier. So, right. And accept the idea, because we are in a society, again, there's a strong mental health narrative. There's so much negative stuff that comes through our phone. Just do me a favor and accept the idea that Bob was trying to get me to accept, that it is simple and it is easy to just let it go. But if you're not willing to consider that it is easy, you won't make it easy. And so I need you to just give me a shot with the book.
Yeah. You need to be able to accept that idea that it's easy to do that.
Yeah. And people, your logical, it can't be that simple, Doug. I mean, and you'll make your mistaken identity makes all these things to keep you stuck. Right?
I'm laughing because I used to say that to you. It's not that easy. You don't know. You don't get it, Doug.
Yeah, that's right. You don't understand what I'm going through, Doug. Yeah. Okay, Alpha, whatever you say.
Listen, it was such a delight having you on. It's always good to speak with you. And again, congrats on the book. I know
Yeah.
you've got another call in a short while, so I'm going to let you go. Let's get this into every household because it definitely needs to be in the hands of young kids, I think, as well as us adults, to know that we are more than enough and we are all here for something phenomenal, I think. We just need to let go of this mistaken identity, like you've just said and you've relayed into your book. Thank you so much, Doug.
I gotta say one more thing.
Yeah.
If anybody's listening to this lady, you should follow her because I've known her for a long time and I've seen her evolve and grow. And she's very good at guiding people. But just like you and just like me, she's going through her own life challenges and pursuing her goals and improving her life and trying to improve the lives of other people. But she has gone ahead of many people. And so she is a good guide. She's very talented. She's very intelligent. She's got a wonderful way about her. And they should be following you, Alpa.
Oh, thank you so much. We're going to get this out to as many audiences as we can on YouTube and Facebook.
All
And
right.
we're going to get this book in every household.
DougDane.com. Go there to get the book.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.